corporate management isn't the only people that you indict. Specifically, Chapter 2, the double agency society and happy conspiracy, you name 10, you call them gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
And they include Congress, the judiciary, the SEC, the Federal Reserve Board, the rating agencies, the financial press, security analysts, corporate directors who we've been talking about, and institutional stockholders who, in your own words, have played in abetting the new culture of speculation, particularly in the period of the great crash of 2008 to 2009 and its aftermath. Is that a fair indictment of so many well-respected institutions?
Well, it's certainly a broad indictment. I might have left somebody out, but I'm not sure who that would have been.
And you can pick anybody who you like. But
well, take a good example is the security analysts of the mutual funds. They should be interested if the management of a corporation that they follow, research for, is failing. They should be taking an initiative to get that management changed, to vote either to change it by throwing out the board, the directors, whatever it might be. And they can do that. They have the power to do that. It may be awkward and cumbersome, but they have the power. And they don't do anything. They seem to be much more interested, these security analysts, in the price of the stock. That is to say, again, the speculative aspect of it. They want the company to give them earnings guidance. It makes the analysts look good when a company says, I'm going to earn 87 cents this year, and they earn 88, something like that. They want that guidance to be realized. And there's no earnings guidance, almost, this is a slight overstatement, that can't be a target that can't be reached. Because if you get halfway through the year or 3/4 of the way through the year, you start playing financial engineering games. And you write off things faster or more slowly, depending on which way you want the earnings to go. You do a lot in the supply chain. You can do you do a merger. That's the greatest muddier of numbers that I know of. So you really basically cannot trust, in a very fundamental sense, the earnings estimates produced by these corporations. And that's why I indict the accountants. Where the heck are they? And let me give you one example of this. These corporations, all in their annual report, they're asked, they have to report on what earnings they expect from the pension plans that they oversee for their employees. And virtually unanimously, they report 8%. That's kind of what a historical return might have been. But they ignore the fact that history is meaningless. History is yesterday. What's important in projecting for the next 10 years or so, what the pension plan is going to earn, we have some knowns. The intermediate term government bond yields less than 2%. Don't forget, we got to get to 8% here. And a reasonable return for stocks might be 7%. So you got a 4.5% return on a 50-50 portfolio. Then you take out the cost of investing. One of the fascinating sub-facts, fascinating to me, is that all these projections are based on stock market returns without recognizing the obvious. We don't get the stock market returns. We get the stock market returns less cost, and they totally ignore cost. I mean, it's a vested interest. It's shocking. But there is, I think I can say unequivocally, you can check me out in 10 years, that there is not a Chinaman's chance, and well, I better not say that. That's very troublesome. There is not a prayer. I hope that's okay. There's not a prayer. I think it's fair to say there's not a prayer that these companies are going to earn that 8%. Their shortfall is going to be great. They're going to have to put up a lot more funding to the pension plan. It's a very troubled part of American business.
And I guess what happens when you understate the pension liability is that you are, in effect, overstating assets, understating liabilities that would cause a company to be valued higher than it should.
That's the trick. And you can, and corporations have actually done this. If you've got a little earnings shortfall, you say, you know what? I think I think it's reasonable to assume that my pension plan is going to earn not 7%, but 8%. And all of a sudden you've made $500 million or something.
And I guess it's just not corporations. I think we're seeing that at the local, state, and federal government. And
the federal government, for reasons I'll come to in a second, is not that much of a problem, but certainly the state and local governments are. They're using the same 8%, 8% before the cost of investing, before thinking about current interest rates. I mean, today's interest rate on a bond has, basically a 90% plus probability of being the actual return that bond will deliver you over the next 10 years. Not very surprising, because all the return on a bond comes from interest. And the interest doesn't grow. You've got a little contract there to get your coupon every twice a year for the next 10 years, and the bond will then be, if you're lucky, retired at par. So there's no extra long-term difference. All you have to do is know the yield. So we know what the bond portfolio is going to earn. We know, and they seem to ignore all that. So it's a very, very games-playing, manufacture the numbers kind of game that the auditors, which is where we started here, ought to say, whoa. Now they may say we don't have any responsibility for that. What are they there for? What are they there for? If it's true that they don't have any responsibility, they better take some responsibility, because the corporate managements are gaming this number.
Well, they are attesting to the financial statement. And if a financial statement isn't accurate, then they're not doing their job.
Well, of course, I suppose you could say, what does this guy Bogle know? I think the returns in the next 10 years are going to be 10%. So it's not a question. It's a little bit of an equivocal question.